Hi, my name is April Foster, and this is All Things Made New, Lesson 13, the end of All Things Made New lesson. Okay, so we'll start this week with a word of prayer, and then we will go into our Bible facts if we think we have time. This is kind of a packed lesson and has some review in it already, and then into the lesson and the activities at the end. All right. So the first thing that we'll do is reorder the story cards as we've been doing in the previous weeks. We have a lot of story cards this time, and you can decide how you want to do that, whether you want to lay it on your table, lay it around the end of the room, or just go through quickly and retell the story again, depending on how familiar your kids are with it by this point. All right, and then the story cards this week, again, this is the narrative, so it's not very long, and these are the activities. So there's not that much, so you should have time to do the map facts or Bible facts this week. All right, so this is just about Jacob and Joseph dying in Egypt, and you have a few things there. You have Jacob blessing Ephraim and Manasseh, and then you have the blessing that goes to Judah. And this blessing, this was a little more difficult for the kids than I originally anticipated, even for like levels maybe 2 and 3. So this card has Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and then this is Judah. Now there's a song they sing in the baby class next door that I had to bring back because some of the kids did remember it, and it goes, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Judah. David came from this family, and much, much later came Jesus, you see. All right, so the verse that's the scripture reference in your Shaping Hearts book and in the narrative is Genesis 49, verse 10? 49:10, where the scepter will not depart from Judah. So I remind them, who's a scepter for? It's for a king. Okay, so they're giving the scepter to Judah, who is Jacob's son Judah. So what does that mean, the scepter won't depart? That means the king will come from his family, King David. And then also later, the scepter won't ever depart. So who's our king? And that is Jesus. And so that's going to come from the family, and that ties into that song. I know it's a little juvenile, especially for levels 3 and 4, but if it helps them remember, it's a good one. So, so that is Judah and how Judah was blessed, and then how after Jacob died, the brothers, and talking them through like how, sometimes when when mom and dad are around, we act good, and when they're gone, we act bad. And so the brothers were worried about that and how they bowed to him. And Joseph said, no, I've forgiven you. And he was not just acting good because Jacob was alive to please men. He was forgiving them and kind because that was pleasing to God. And that's a good application for today. They really got that part. And then we talked about the bones. They really liked looking at the bones. So that is all of the lesson cards. So after you're done completely with this book, you'll want to divide up those story cards and put them back into your file folders that go with each lesson so that you have them for the next time that you teach. But for now, I just have a big stack of cards till I finish up for the quarter. All right, the activities for this week. So there is this activity with the worksheet of the family tree, and the older kids can cut these apart and glue them on, or they can write them in. This is one that's been completed that doesn't have the women on it, that just the names were written in. And the song that I sing to go with this one is to the tune of Whosoever Will, and it gives all the kids' names in order. It goes, Jacob lived in Canaan, there he had 12 sons, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Zebulun, Issachar, and Asher, Naphtali, and Dan, Joseph, Gad, and Benjamin. And if you've sung that song over the quarter, some of you may already know that one or may have another version that you sing, then hopefully they'll remember that, and you can, even the littles love it, and even the bigger kids like to sing that. They'll even, when we get into the Judges, they'll still sing the Judges and of course the Apostles' song as well. All right, the last activity we have is more of a review. And so I'll use Expert for that and let it select a kid. So I don't use all the ones that plug into this part. I just let it select a child. I lay these out on the table in order. This is from Adam, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. And today I let the kids just put them in order, and they like doing that themselves. And then I'll let the expert select a child, And then I'll ask them the question, who had a dream about the sun, moon, and stars bowing to his star? Of course, that answer is Joseph. And they can either point to it or say the name. I really like for them to say the name when they point. And we'll just go through the questions. And we didn't even have time to make it all the way through the sheet this time, but we will on Wednesday night, I suspect. So that is the end of All Things Made New. And like I said, I usually keep mine stored in a file folder box by lesson. And then I sort through all that at the end of the quarter, which doesn't take very long because I've kind of kept it all along the way. But I'll divide up those story cards, put them back in the right file folders, and then I'll have it ready to go for next time.